We see this web-like material attached to his fingertips, and we get a sense that that's how it's emitted. And so it wasn't like it was coming from some other part of his body. That was clearly coming from his hands in a kind of web-like way.
Watch this.
His particular powers of speed and strength have a kind of insect-like quality to him. And so it's all part and parcel of the same idea of an insect-like ability.
You know, the optic nerve guys came up with these scales, and then it was decided they were too big, and then they made them smaller, and then it was like, well, maybe they should be sticking up like armor. So there were all these discussions going on, and they'd have whole meetings. They were called scale meetings, and they would have meetings, hour-long, 2-hour-long meetings about the scales. And they finally settled on what you see on the screen.
These are a few of Suresh's scales. I think all in all, I have probably painted close to 1,000 of these. They get as small as probably maybe an eighth the size of this. I mean, really, really tiny for the ones on his face, up to this size for ones on his back and shoulders.
I think when I first read the first episode and saw that I got this ability and then saw that there were scales, I just focused on the ability. I didn't take into account the amount of time that I would be spending in makeup, and it was long. My call time was 3 in the morning. I'd come in at 3, so I'd get up at 2 in the morning and show up, and nobody else would be here except for me and Optic Nerve until 6 in the morning. So we'd just be here hanging out, like putting scales on me for 3 hours. Good times.
And the good times just keep on coming, as the Doctor's newfound strength has led to a much more physical series for Suresh.
We see Sindel come into the action more. In the scenes of the past, he hasn't done any action at all.
I have always kind of been a little bit of a punching bag.
Yes. This season, I've been doing a lot of stunts. I've gotten to do some very cool stuff, like I got to do a flip off the rafters and land, and that was really fun.
I was like, wow, I feel bad for him. His blood was literally like rushing to his head, and he had to do that so many times, but he wanted to do it. We wanted it to kind of come off real.
Doing the flip was hard because I was upside down, so I couldn't see the ground, so I had to kind of do it off a count and just go 1, 2, 3, and on 3 know that I was going to hit the ground because I couldn't really see the ground. So I kept coming up short, and I was coming down like face first, like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. I did like 9 of those where I just came down like that instead of landing on my feet because I misjudged where the ground was.
They were like, no, it's okay, we kind of got it. And he was like, no, let me try it one last time.
And then the very last take, that's the one that they used because it's the only one we got. It's the only one where I landed, said my line, and the camera was right.
How did you?
Hi.
It was really impressive, and I know that the director, Greg Beeman, was ecstatic with how it came out, and Sindel as well.
We're not finished here.
Then, in a later episode, he needs to escape and then launch himself out the skylight.
We call it the bug jump.
I'm bug jumping across the loft. Not flying, but jumping long, long distances.
They wouldn't let me do that one. Robert did it, and I'm glad because on the first take, he literally flew across the room and slammed into the wall, just like, boom.
And I'm about to bust Maya out of a cocoon that I put her in. Hoist her over my shoulder, jump straight up through a skylight, and rush away. So it's gonna be fun.
3, 2, 1, now! Cut. That was the best one.
That was an example of collaboration between visual effects, special effects, and stunt. For that particular shot, all of the debris that Suresh and the girl interact with will actually be digital. And the down angle revealing the debris falling after his escape on Tracy and Nathan is practical debris. So we're matching our digital breaking glass and structure to the real one that we drop on the set.
With Suresh heading off to Pinehurst to find a cure, just what is this mysterious place we've heard so much about?
Pinehurst.
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 Notice how Primatech sounds sinister and Pinehurst sounds lovely. You'd think it would be the other way around.
Pinehurst sounds like a dishwashing liquid.
Pinehurst is the opposite side of Primatech paper. This is another company that is involved with people with powers. They have their own agenda.
It's a bigger, scarier organization that has really deep pockets.
You know, Arthur Petrelli is the head of a corporation called Pinehurst, which fronts as a genetics